Okay, we're here. We're going to go ahead and try to get the valve flowing here. I'm going to take a piece of just wire I had when I was replacing some ballast. Get the valve open. I'm going to try to feed this in here. See if I can get that in there. Get some of the crud out. It's got to have kind of a bend to it. Some people go ahead and replace these valves with a better valve. There you go. Put this towel here just so I get water going down the drain and not too much crud. If you move this back and forth, you can see you got water flow. That's because what's happening is that crud in there is behind the entrance to that. So what I've been doing is just filling this up here and letting it come out of where the element goes. So if I turn this on again, probably going to get wet here. This is all unplugged. This is where the element goes in. Electric hot water heater. And I can put my finger in there and feel the water is right up. It's going to start coming out of there in just a second. There it is. Shut off the water. Got it right up to the top. Now if I do this, I got a little bit more of a water pressure. I'm just going to revolve this around the wire, pull it back and forth. By leaving it in and just moving it back and forth. Now if you pull this wire out, what's going to happen is probably going to stop. It'll run for a while and stop. That's because all that crud that's in there, these deposits and stuff, they'll back in there. Here's some of this stuff here from earlier. It looks like cottage cheese. It's actually probably aluminum or magnesium, probably from the anode. If I just go back and forth here like this, turn this around, you see some stuff coming out here. What I've got here is I've got a rag, so I want to prevent not too many other plumbing problems. That catches the crud here and this drains over to a drain. Been kind of sloppy, so I got some of that stuff's gone down the drain, which isn't good. But I've noticed this before sometimes, is it doesn't want to, these hot water heaters don't want to drain. Another one I replaced did the same thing. This is actually a good hot water heater. It's just good in the sense all I need to do is put a new element in it, but it doesn't have any leaks yet. This is fairly new. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more water. Probably should put the element back in. I really want it to flow back in more. But I'll have the gasket. Probably going to leak some. Let's go ahead and do that. Fill it up even more. Now doing that, you can see I got a bigger flow. is kind of upchucking stuff through here. See this stuff, it's pooping out. It'll flow real quick. And as soon as I move the wire, it'll come out like mad. And this has got a little bit of the rotten egg smell to it. So I've actually got the water on and using it as a kind of a super flush. Now it's got a good flow to it. So I'm not just draining, I'm going to turn this off for a second. It's really coming out of there. It's all just due to this rod here. The wire going through there and pulling out the crud that's in there. This is just a piece of hard wire. To get it in there, I had to kind of put a bend to it again to kind of get it to start. I just had to randomly play around, and it took about a half a minute. And I kind of prefer to leave the wire in there while I'm doing this, and you can kind of move it back and forth, and that kind of frees that up, the crud up. But that helps flush this way better. A lot of times you want to take an old one out of a house, you'll drain this and it'll still be heavy because this actually didn't go ahead and drain off all the water. Sometimes you can do is have this drain into a pan and have the water then drain out into a hose instead of directly hooking this to a hose, because all of a sudden you'll have no flow and you don't know what's going on. Now this one originally, when I drained this, it stopped draining when the water was up here to the element, and when I pulled the element out, boom, all the water. Right now the water is all the way up here to the element, so you may think it's draining real well. It's not. Still got some crap in there. It's got a slow drain. This is really common though. You get junk in there that doesn't want to flow. Try not to get the camera wet. Again, to feed this in here with this type of valve, I usually put a little bend to the wire, because it's got to go turn 90 degrees. Now, in a small hot water heater, you can take this thing and move it around and kind of sense that it's still pretty darn heavy. There you go. But just putting a wire in there and moving it back and forth, if it starts to flow a lot more, boom, you know you've got crap right at the end of it. So just leave the wire in, move it back and forth, and there you go. It's a good way to flush it out. This hot water heater is only about 3 or 4 years old, but it's had a whole bunch of crud in it. The earlier video, other video I did, this is the stuff that came out. It looks like cottage cheese, but it has, looks like baking soda, the consistency of, or wet powder.